Hey there, race fans. It's Race Day Top 5 with me, Frank 5. Road course racing. Everybody's been getting into it the last couple of years. Differing strategies. A lot of guys beating and banging off each other. Big playoff race that we have with the Roval. This year we traveled to Circuit of the Americas, the second year at this facility, a track that has hosted Formula One, IndyCar, and many types of racing. Last year we ran in a torrential downpour. This year, different conditions and sunny skies, and a first-time winner in the Cup Series, and a winner we've been expecting for quite some time. Let's talk about all that went down in Austin, Texas. Number 1, Ross Chastain, at long last, is a NASCAR Cup Series winner as he captured yesterday's EchoPark Automotive Grand Prix at Circuit of the Americas in a thrilling battle in the end with a lot of other guys as he was able to hold off Alex Bowman, Christopher Bell, Chase Elliott, and Tyler Reddick to pick up his first career Cup Series victory and the first win for the Trackhouse Racing Team, a team that was brand new to the sport last year. And Ross Chastain, what a journey he's had to get to this point. Started his career in the lower series, as most drivers typically do. Ran the truck series for a couple years. Ran for Brad Keselowski Racing at a couple times. Unfortunately, was not able to get to victory lane there. Then he moved up to the Xfinity Series in 2015, driving for Johnny Davis Motorsports. Had a couple of nice runs there, but not really big moments per se in that series. Then he was able to continue to try to improve himself over the next couple of years. Then in 2018, he scored his first NASCAR Xfinity Series win when he drove a couple of races for Chip Ganassi Racing and the number 42 team at Las Vegas. And that got Ross Chastain into the playoffs that season. And when he was eliminated from the first round, he was very happy with the way his season was. And then in the offseason, he announced that he would be driving full-time for NASCAR Xfinity Series Chip Ganassi team in 2019 and felt like this is going to be a big moment for Chastain. But unfortunately, the deal fell through when DC Solar got raided by the FBI, and therefore the sponsorship fell through, and they could not fund the team, so Chastain had to go find a different team. So he stuck with Johnny Davis Motorsports, but also ran a couple of races for Colleague Racing, a team that was relatively new to the Xfinity Series, and had a good outing with them in the first race at Daytona. Was very strong, didn't get the win, but was very competitive throughout the entire day. Ran a few more races without them throughout the year, including getting his second career Xfinity Series win for the team, for himself, and first win for the team at Daytona in the night race in 2019, which was originally a 1-2-3 finish, but because AJ Allmendinger got disqualified, it was just a 1-2 finish. But it was a big moment for Ross Chastain. He got to smash watermelon on the start-finish line because he's from Florida. He's a Florida boy, and he loves watermelons. And, you know, he'd do that also in the truck series as he decided to switch to driver points that year when he was driving for Nice Motorsports. He won 2 races with them at Gateway and Pocono, made it to the championship 4, didn't win it, but was still very competitive. Then ran full-time for Colleague Racing in 2020, didn't get the victory lane, but was still very competitive throughout the entire season. And could have had some moments where he could have gotten to victory lane. It just was not meant to be. We ran a couple races in the truck series, and also during that time, he started running some cup races, starting with Premium Motorsports. Then he stuck with them, and then he would shift to Spire Motorsports and kind of an affiliate deal with Chip Ganassi Racing. He had a couple of nice moments for that team, and then in 2021, his big opportunity came when he was promoted to drive full-time in the Cup Series for Chip Ganassi Racing in the number 42 team. I felt like this dude was going to probably break through in victory lane last year. Unfortunately, it never materialized, and in the middle of the season, Chip Ganassi Racing announced that they were selling their assets at the end of the season to Trackhouse Racing, leaving Chastain without a ride. But come August, Trackhouse announced that Chastain would be one of their drivers, teaming up with Daniel Suarez for 2022 and would drive car number 1. And we felt like this is an opportunity for Chastain. He's going to develop with this team, and let's see where it goes from here. And this season, to kick off the year, Chastain has been unbelievable. The speed's been there for him. Daytona outing, not the best, but he still had some speed in that race. Ran pretty well at California, even though he had a hard crash early in the week. And then the previous few races, he has been so close to getting a win. He was strong at Vegas, led the most laps, won a stage, finished 3rd. Finished 2nd at Phoenix, he was so close. He finished 2nd last week after rebounding from hitting the wall in the race. And yesterday, he was the dominant car. And I've never really known Ross Chastain to be a good road course racer, but after watching yesterday, I now know that he's a guy you got to watch for these road courses. He led the most laps. He was strong throughout the entire day. I don't think he even left the top 10 at one point, aside from cycle, green flag stops, and guys on different strategies. But he had ferocious battles at the end of the race with other guys. And at the very end, he kind of got a little controversial ending, which I'll talk about in a second, in the last few corners to win the race. But what happened was AJ Allmendinger got bumped from behind by Chastain in turn 19, sent him in Alex Bowman. Bowman went wide, was able to get back on the track, but Chastain passed both of them and was able to pull through and get his first career Cup Series victory, and a big moment for him and the team's first ever Cup Series victory, taking the reins of Chip Ganassi Racing, and they've lived up to it. And Justin Marks celebrated his birthday on Friday, so he got himself a nice birthday present. So attaboy to him. He's one of the team owners, one of the other vice principals of the team, Ty Norris. But the other owner was celebrating somewhere out there because he wasn't at the track, but I know he was somewhere celebrating. Pitbull, baby, because he owns this team. He joined them last year before the season started and became a part owner of this team. And this is big for Trackhouse Racing and Ross Chastain. His career has officially started in the Cup Series as a winner, and I've got a feeling we're going to see a lot more wins out of Ross Chastain this year and possibly a dark horse contender for the championship. So, attaboy to the Watermelon Man, and right after he celebrated, he got up on the top of his roof, screaming and jumping up and down. He finally won a cup race and smashed the watermelon so hard at the start-finish line to celebrate his victory. That's the first of many watermelons that are going to be smashed in the Cup Series by Ross Chastain. I'm very happy for him. He did take action for what happened at the very end of the race between him and the 16 car, but, you know, he owned up to it and he says, I owe him one. So that's pretty good being responsible for Ross Chastain. That's maturity right there to own up to what happened, and he'll probably get his next time. But a big moment for Ross Chastain. He's in the playoffs, and Trackhouse Racing have officially arrived. So congratulations, boys. You are Cup Series winners. Number 2, the finish of the race. As I mentioned, in the last lap, Ross Chastain had the lead, but was feeling heat from behind by A.J. Allmendinger in the Colleague Racing number 16 car, who had to start the rear for unapproved adjustments, and Alex Bowman, who was one of the best drivers all day long, average-wise, other than Ross Chastain. They were having a nice battle at the very end, and then at turn 12, Allmendinger got so close to Chastain's bumper, he almost looked like he moved him out of the way a little bit, just a tiny bit of a tap, and then in turn 16, I believe it was, Allmendinger moved him out of the way, and it looked like Chastain was going to get it back, and then on the inside comes Alex Bowman, and Alex Bowman had the lead going into 19, and then Chastain in 19 gives Allmendinger the little bump and run, and sends Allmendinger into Alex Bowman, and Allmendinger spun around into the gravel. Bowman was able to carry on, but ultimately settled for second place. Allmendinger had to settle for 33rd. He was pretty upset post-race, so was his owners, you know, the owner, Matt Colleague, and the team president, Chris Rice. They were not very happy, but they kind of understood what was going to happen in that last lap. They were all fighting for it. Everyone was fighting for the same piece of real estate. And in the end, Allmendinger said, you know, you got to do what you got to do, you know, but he said, I'll be ready to bounce back the next time we're on a road course, and I'm going to give it everything I've got. But, you know, Allmendinger had a great race car. He, again, came from the back. He had speed. He was coming up to the field. But the battle at the end, the finish at the end with this next-gen car, this is what we want. We want this type of racing. We want this type of parity up front. We had a Hendrick car racing, a Trackhouse team who's now a top-tier team, and Colleague, who you should always expect with Allmendinger behind the wheel on a road course to be up front battling for the win. Their first career Cup win came on a road course last year at the Indianapolis road course with Allmendinger behind the wheel. But these guys just put on a great battle at the end. The fans got their money's worth, and it was just a phenomenal, fun finish. A little bit of controversy, wondering, was Chastain's bump on Allmendinger, was it justified? Was it the right way to do? In my opinion, you got to do what you got to do to win the race. And on the last lap, it's every man for himself. There's no, like, you know, okay, let's police these guys. Let's see what happens. It was every man for himself. And that's what we got in yesterday's race at the finish. And it was phenomenal. It was fun to watch. And the races this year with this next-gen car, it's just not disappointing. It's so much fun to watch this type of racing with this car. And the finish yesterday, unbelievable. Number 3, your road course aces. Some had great days, some not so much. I mean, let's talk about some of the other guys. Alex Bowman, a great run yesterday. Second place finish, was pretty much the best of the Hendrick camp yesterday. Great run all around. It looked like in that last lap that he was going to do it until he got hit from behind by Allmendinger, courtesy of Chastain. And Bowman was able to carry it to second place at the start-finish line. Kind of upset because the previous day he ran the truck race. He felt like an opportunity when they went 3 wide into turn 11 with Stuart Friesen and knocked Kyle Busch out of the way. All 3 of them did not end up winning the race, but, you know, Bowman gave it his best effort. Christopher Bell, great rebound because early in the race, he had a mechanical problem. He was complaining about steering issues with his race car. Remember, these next-gen cars are getting used to some new technical things. They're going to have some failures, particularly on road courses. We saw that with Christopher Bell. He had steering problems. Same with his teammate, Denny Hamlin. But Bell, after going a lap down, got his lap back and came flying through the field on fresh tires. He got a 3rd-place finish out of it. That's a great comeback considering how bad their season's been so far. Chase Elliott, the road course gang. You would expect him to kind of be up at the front. Well, he kind of was, but they really didn't have the pace in practice and qualifying to give them an opportunity. They were not that fast. They were 12th in qualifying. And then the race started. He kind of slipped back a few spots, but then got into a little bit of a rhythm, started passing guys. The highest he got was 4th, and it looked like if he had stayed 4th on one of the late race pit stops, he would have the opportunity to win. But on the last pit stop for him and his team, the right side, they had a tough time jacking it up and getting the right rear tire on. Chase was not happy. They dropped back to 11th, but worked their way back up and were able to get a 4th place finish out of it. Still, that's a good day for him considering, they didn't really have the speed in their car. And of course, the guys that made the championship for last year were behind on testing for the next gen car, particularly at these types of tracks. But after watching yesterday's race and watching him throughout the race, Elliott got into a rhythm and flow. And I believe the next time we go to a road course, he will get that rhythm and flow back, and he will be probably winning some road course races this year. It's a good result for him and his team, their first top 5 of the year. Ryan Blaney, who started on the pole this race, I felt like he had the opportunity to get the job done, but he fell back early on, went on a different tire strategy, fell back, worked his way back up to get a 6th place finish. Tyler Reddick had himself a nice run. He was the leader on the last restart of the race in overtime. And I felt like if he could get the job done, what a move he did on the previous restart before caution came out. Unfortunately, he got kicked all the way back to 5th. And in the middle part of the race, he was not happy with his car. And he said, "What am I doing? I'm sucking right now." But a 5th place finish, I think, is a good way to make up for all that. Martin Truex didn't qualify that well, and they kind of didn't run that well until the final stage, but got a 7th place finish out of it. That's pretty good for MTJ. Austin Cindric, who hadn't had a top 10 since his Daytona 500 win early this year to kick off the year, he was able to get an 8th place finish out of yesterday because he spun early on, but he was able to bounce back from that, and he's got good road course experience. Kevin Harvick got 11th, and then Kyle Larson and Joey Logano and Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin, not the best result for those guys. Larson kind of got hung around the top 10, top 15, but got an incident late with Logano and Kurt Busch. They were able to continue, but not the best of finishes for those guys. Denny Hamlin won his first stage of the season and needed those points to kind of get him up through the year, but he still does not have a top 10. He had to settle for 17th, 18th place. They've got to get things right. They have the speed. They just haven't had the finishes yet. They've got to put it together. And Kyle Busch early in the race got spun around at turn 12 by Chase Elliott, and he had to fight his way back to the front, got himself back to the top 5, and it looked like he was going to get top 5, but on the last lap, apparently he spun out and he had to settle for 28th place finish. So not the best of day for some of our veterans and champs and typical road course aces of the sport, but sometimes you have good outings and sometimes you have bad outings. That's life and that's racing, folks. But some of those guys were able to get a good finish out of it. The other guys are going to have to bounce back the next time we go to a road course. Number 4, Chase Briscoe, the man who won his first career Cup Series race a couple weeks ago at Phoenix, kind of had a really solid day, running up at the top 5, top 10, was challenging Ross Chastain for the lead late, but on one of the late race restarts at turn 3, Briscoe cut the corner and fell back a couple spots, and NASCAR penalized him because the rule is that if you cut the corners and try to gain an advantage, you are going to be forced to make a pass-through penalty, serve a pass-through down pit road, and take you out of the equation. But NASCAR reviewed it and said that actually the 16 of Allmendinger kind of forced him out there, so they said no penalty whatsoever, which I think was a good move. However, Briscoe flat spotted his tires and he had to pit, and he had to fight his way back to, I think he finished inside the top 30, so he actually was never really able to rebound from that. So that's pretty unfortunate by Briscoe. But they had the speed in their car, and he's become a good road course racer throughout his career. I mean, his first ever NASCAR Xfinity Series win came at the Charlotte Roval in 2018. So he had a chance yesterday. Unfortunately, that late race incident with Allmendinger kind of took him out of contention. But the speed's there, and they had potential to win that race yesterday. And number 5, racing at COTA in the dry conditions and with this next-gen car. So if you remember last year, we ran at COTA for the first time, but it was raining. We were in at a torrential downpour, and we had to stop the race short of 13 laps to go. NASCAR called it quits and declared Chase Elliott the winner. This time around, we ran it in the dry time because we moved it up a couple months. We ran it in May last year, March this time around, and we ran in sunny conditions all day long. And the first road course race with this next-gen car, I gotta say, I loved it. The road course racing over the years has just gotten so much more exciting for the fans, seeing the different strategies between these guys. Do you want to stay out for stage points at the end of the stage, or do you want to pit and put yourself in good track position for the next stage and possibly the final stage if you have the speed and the car to get the job done? I mean, we saw a lot of that. The beating and banging between these guys was incredible. Some guys were spinning around. Some guys were having power problems, but some were able to recover. As I mentioned, Christopher Bell. Eric Jones had a power problem, stalled on the track, fell lap down, got his lap back, and came back to finish 9th. And the road course racing, I mean, road course racing has just become so much fun. It's must-see TV over the last couple of years. I mean, you could say that because, Watkins Glen's gotten better over the years, but the Charlotte Roval race really changed the outcome of road course racing and the enthusiasm surrounding it all. That's why we added COTA. That's why we added Road America to the Cup schedule. That's why we finally decided to go in the Indianapolis Road Course. That one, it kind of was like mixed reviews from most fans. Some liked it, some didn't because of the late race shenanigans. But in general, I felt like that road course racing has become must-see TV and must be there in person to see this stuff. I mean, COTA's so big, you really need to sit certain sections of the track with the television to see what's happening until they come around. But the racing product, I mean, if you're watching TV, the product that you see is unbelievable. It's so much fun. It's just so much fun to watch. And I enjoy road course racing, and I think we got a good race out of COTA yesterday in the dry conditions versus in the rain last year. And the finish, I think, capped off what was a great race weekend for NASCAR Circuit of the Americas. And we're going to sounds like based on the ads promoting it for next year, sounds like we are going to come back to Circuit of the Americas. Remember, Motor Speedway Incorporated does not own this track. It's owned by a certain other governing body that I forget the name of, but I think that COTA is truly belong on the NASCAR Cup schedule, and I'm very, very happy with the product that we had yesterday. Also, shout out to the Fox broadcast yesterday. Tony Stewart returned to the booth after he did a stint with Mike Joy and Clint Boyer for the Daytona 500 and the Clash. Tony brought great insight yesterday. He was so much fun to listen to. Him and Mike and Clint going at each other, having great commentary. And Stewart, loved the racing at the very end. He said, they did everything they needed to do to win the race. And, he said, I have no problem with what happened at the very end. You got to do what you got to do. I totally agree with Tony. It was so much fun to listen to him. And next week, and the next 2 weeks, actually, we're going to have NASCAR Cup Series, 7-time NASCAR Cup Series Championship Crew Chief Chad Knaus, who is the director for Hendrick Motorsports program. He's going to be coming into the booth next week and joining Mike and Clint, kind of giving a nice view of the crew chief. Even though he's no longer a crew chief anymore, he's still working on cars. But it's very nice for him. And I also want to give a shout out to the Fox broadcast for some of the music choices that they had yesterday. As you can tell by me wearing the Foo Fighters shirt, really like their music. And we know on Friday, the drummer for Foo Fighters, Taylor Hawkins, passed away at the age of 50. I was very shocked by that. But I could hear some of the Foo Fighters songs that they were playing going to commercial break. One of them was My Hero. The other one was All My Life. Thank you, Fox, for playing those songs to honor Taylor Hawkins and the Foo Fighters. I greatly appreciate you for doing that. And for every NASCAR fan that is a Foo Fighters fan and listened to those songs yesterday, that's a fitting tribute to Taylor, and we're going to miss him a lot. So, with all that being said, we're officially done with the first road course race of the season. We won't go road course racing until June in Sonoma. Next week, we're going to be off to Richmond, and we're going to be seeing guys running different grooves, bottom, middle, high groove, and we're going to see a lot of tire fall off with these tires, and it'll be interesting to see how these next-gen cars run on the first official short track of the season. This is going to be very interesting to see how big of a handful these guys have with these cars and how the tires affect these cars, these next-gen cars, as they continue to get a couple laps in them. It's going to be a lot of fun. Will Denny Hamlin be able to get his first win of the season at the track where he's had so much history at and get his season going and get himself in the playoffs? Will Martin Truex Jr., who's had success at Richmond over the years, or will Ross Chastain, after this big first win, go 2 for 2? We're going to find out. I can't wait to see what happens next Sunday. So hope you all enjoyed the race weekend. Subscribe, like, and congratulations once again to Ross Chastain, the third first-time winner of 2022. Congrats to him and Trackhouse on their first ever win as a Cup Series team. Hope you guys enjoy the week. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a great week. Let's go racing!